Okay, everyone, let's get started. I would love to reflect a bit on the third quarter here at Cake DeFi. And I dropped a transparency report as a blog post. We always have the same kind of workflow there. We always start with a board report. Now, I know that u-zyn and myself pretty much own the entire company. We do have some, or actually every one of our team members has the opportunity to have employee stock options. So we do have in some team members having shares as well. But the lion's share is split between u-zyn and myself. So in theory, it is our own money. We understand pretty much all the happenings in the company. We don't really have to have such a detailed board report, and it's just u-zyn and myself on the board. We do it though for a very good practice to self-reflect, to kind of keep account. Where are we? What's happening? What are the plans? I think, and I want the team to do this as well. And so you can always see this. We post this on a quarterly basis. We always have my reflection as a blog post, and then you can always read the details from the entire team if you want to do so. And then from that board report, we distill a team version. That's like an internal version that has pretty much all the insights from the board report except for the financial details. And from there, we then go and make the public version that we share with you. To give you some idea, obviously, we always remove quite some information from the team version to the public version. That's just because there's a lot of things that we just want to discuss within the team. I think that makes sense. But then, on the other hand, we want to share as much as possible with you so that you as a customer, or maybe as a possible future customer, maybe as a possible future team member, partner, investor, you kind of know what's happening. Yeah, and what I want to do in this video, I want to kind of reflect a bit on this, share a bit of my personal thoughts. Obviously, if you're watching this, drop me a line into the chat. I can see already Baby in Vindel is here, Fabio is here, Raju is here, Luke is here. Yeah, and I would love to discuss, obviously, the board report, see if you have any questions, and try to address those as well. Great. With that, let me dive in. The board report, you simply go to blog.cakedefi.com. Then here is the transparency report. And if you scroll all the way down here, you can actually see this team version. It links over to a Google Drive. And it basically starts out with all kinds of topics here in great detail. But yeah, I'm scrolling right to the product because most of the time that's what you care about most. So here I use the details there. But first, let me kind of scroll through a bit of my notes, and then we're gonna jump over into the entire kind of team reflection. I think as a whole, Q3, and be careful, it's the end of October, right? Q3 went until the end of September, so quite a bit of a different scenario. October has been the strongest month that Bitcoin has seen actually in all through 2021. It went up by almost 50%. September looked very different. It was a very almost kind of sentimental low. And it just reminded me a bit of last year. We have actually seen a very similar kind of pattern in Q3 last year. And I'm going to reflect on that a bit. But as a company, we have actually had a solid month. It's yeah, we've paid out a record $74 million in rewards to our customers. So yeah, if you kind of annualize that, we pay out around $300 million a year. US dollars to customers. Now, kind of to keep in mind here, this obviously depends on the crypto prices, and it depends on obviously the customers. Yeah, and since this was a record, we are sitting in the same boat as our customers. Obviously, our company performance was a record from the financial side, which I think is really important considering yes, some customers always look at the day to day. All they care about is what's happening right now. I get it. But as a CEO of the company, you kind of always think a bit months and years into the future. So for me, it's always important to make sure that we have longevity in the company and make sure that everything is working long term. Yeah, you probably as a customer long term, you're not always thinking about this, but it is something that's really important. Yeah, I'll reflect a bit on the product. I'll reflect a bit on the growth. But team wise, we're now 80 people. By end of the year, we're gonna be or we should be 100. So we are hiring pretty aggressively. I think right now there's 25 open roles. It's just absolutely bonkers. There's literally not a single department where we're not hiring. So we're hiring on the engineering side, we're hiring on the design side, we're hiring on the financial side, we're hiring on the business, marketing, comms. It does not matter which direction we are growing the team, literally in any direction. So if you are keen on working for a really, really awesome company, join this rocket ship. I think it would be great. And then we're undergoing this Pcob audit. Again, this is completely voluntary. We're doing this especially to provide more assurance to our customers. This is a third-party audit it's basically the same audit that, for example, Coinbase has to do in the US. It is any publicly listed company has to do that. And we're undergoing that audit. Legal and compliance, all these frameworks are doing well. So yeah, I think it's quite exciting to see all the progress we have had. With that being said, let me start a bit with a couple of headwinds that we had in Q3. And we did grow. We did have all-time high in customer funds, and we did have obviously all-time high in users. Sure, we're growing, and most of our customers, I think that's also quite interesting. Most of our customers are more long-term focused, so they commit to use us normally for longer periods of time. They're not so much the traders. So we do see this even in a quarter that does have negative crypto sentiment. Now, what we do see in those quarters when there is a bit of a negative crypto sentiment, obviously, is that the interest of new customers in general into the space is a bit more limited. And you saw this in Q3 pretty much for all the crypto companies. It doesn't matter if you look on the Google search results. It doesn't matter if you look at app downloads, website traffic. You can compare this with any kind of platform. That's very, very, very normal. Obviously, we saw this as well. And it's different, for example, as right now. So you compare October already to, for example, September. I mean, this flipped 180 degrees. So I think that's quite straightforward. The other one, Q3, it's always the same for any kind of non-seasonal oriented business. We are not seasonal oriented. Obviously, there's always a bit of a downtrend there, simply because many investors, they want to take some holidays. They're a bit calmer. They don't look for new businesses, or they don't look for more investment opportunities. That's very normal. One big thing that we saw obviously was the regulatory change to crypto in the US, which, for example, led us to having to not allow US customers using our lending offer. And then China doing a full-out crypto ban, and which made us kind of change a bit of the Chinese-speaking strategy as a whole. So these are the curveballs that get thrown at you. You have to be nimble and move fast. I think we did that spot on. And then last but not least is paying back holiday debt. It's a concept that I had kind of discussed a couple of times. I have to admit, all through 2020 and then the first half of 2021, I've never seen like a group work so dedicated and so focused on a single goal. And that had to do with the pandemic, with Corona, kind of locking everyone up, not being able to travel. And at some point, right, it's always a bit of a mix. How much do you push the team in order to kind of deliver the next amazing outcome, or how much slack do you give them so that they can take some holiday? And for me, it was really, really clear already for Q3 that we would have to pay back some of that holiday debt. So we actually did see a lot of our team members take holiday, which in my opinion was really well deserved. And obviously burnout is a real issue if you work 6-7 days a week and you're really committed and you're constantly trying to deliver. So this was absolutely essential. Now I could have stretched that. I think this would have backfired. Again, sometimes you do have to make short-term sacrifices for the longer good, and so I'm quite happy on that. Now the main thing here, what happened was that a couple of product timelines had to get pushed back by like a month. Which in my opinion was a fair sacrifice. A customer may not always see that. I get that. A customer always wants everything to happen yesterday, and that's a fair point. But again, as I mentioned, winning in this kind of sport is a sprint that is the length of a marathon. So just kind of keep this in mind. If you've ever ran a marathon, you're going to be amazed the pace that people run there. It's definitely not how the saying goes for many people, like, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. Yeah, it is a sprint with the length of a marathon. Remember that. So I think that's really, really key. And I think looking at all that, I think look, there's always things that you could do better. I think that's in everything that you do in life, but I think we delivered fairly well. And so, I just want to highlight a couple of those things here. Product-wise, these are the things that you obviously see. USDC lending, I know it sounds like it's so long ago, but this actually happened in Q3. We had the liquidity mining freezer that went live. The mobile app that basically started as an alpha version in Q2, then in Q3 went to like full mode. We played around with new landing pages, especially for new customers and different kind of types of interests there. So, I mean, something that you maybe not actively see, but that's actually relatively a lot of work. We had the liquidity mining freezer, and we had the DeFi chain staking freezer, the 1.2 and 2x reward. That one really took a lot of work. It required us to kind of refactor a lot of database and kind of the approach, how all this got approached. So that was really, really, really a lot of work. And then some UX and kind of design ideas. Now the two things, my son just in front of the door hears me and can't get in. So two things that kind of got pushed back slightly here is decentralized stocks and decentralized loans. So these are two things that are pretty much imminent right now. Again, as I mentioned, as a whole, also on Cake side, this probably got pushed back by a month. It was super important to us, though, to have this sustainability in the team, and I think that was super important. Kind of considering everything that was going on. And then so like looking at the rest, obviously on the marketing side, we've been testing more and more kind of ideas to get more customers, to attract more people, working with key influencers. That's going to be also a key thing going forward. From a UX perspective, I think there's definitely room to improve for us. First of all, we're going to focus on one avenue, for example. So it's not like web app, mobile web app, and then actually the mobile app. It's going to be very specific on where we expect users to land. And then we really want to make sure that the user journey there is super easy. Three kind of key steps that we really want to work on are the signing up process. It sounds so simple, but there's like so many small little friction points that we can kind of clean up. Then obviously completing KYC. I know, again, this is always a bit of pain in the butt. We're doing our best to make this as seamless and as easy as possible. And then the last one is actually using a service, right? And especially when it comes now to stocks and then taking out the loans, things that I will cover for Q4, that has to be super smooth and easy to understand for everyone. So I think that's definitely going to be an important one. And then, you can see here, he has a bit of a team kind of philosophy. I mentioned this a couple of times also in our Twitter spaces. So far, pretty much is everything still, like, I would say 90% remote, 10% is, depending on what we are allowed here in Singapore, is in the office. I expect, probably not this year yet, but then next year, first of all, here in Singapore, to get people into the office at least 2 to 3 times a week. It's going to be mandatory. but then the other 2 or 3 days, at the beginning, probably it's going to be 1 or 2, and then it's going to get expanded. But I always want to have this mix. I'm not someone who actually suggests working only remote and or working only at the office. The reason is very simple. I believe in kind of playing your strengths in different kind of setups. When you're at the office, generally speaking, you're a bit more distracted unless you kind of really have your own little workroom or cubicle, which again, I also think is not that good. But let's say you are in this room by yourself and you can really drive stuff home, then that's fine. But generally speaking, being in your own kind of setup and your own kind of environment, most of the time you're way more efficient in actually getting stuff executed. But the main hindrance of that is always that of collaboration. And most great decisions, most great brainstorming sessions, most great kind of discussion points happen through team collaboration. And that's completely different whether you are offline or online. I think nothing can compare to having a whiteboard session or sitting around a coffee table and just having a bit of a social chit chat. Then obviously the bonding, the culture, I think all that. And at the end, that's what makes a great team. Right, a great team is made through the tough and through the beautiful times, and you need this kind of togetherness. So that's going to be important. And then we're going to do probably 1 or 2 complete company get-togethers. We're already having one plan for the beginning of the year, and then one that's like more like beginning of Q2, and then see probably one a bit later in the year for next year. So at the beginning, they're not going to be mandatory simply because of travel rules. But then over time, especially when travel really opens up, we are like a global company, and then we really want to see everyone get together for a very simple reason. Because again, same thing, collaboration, ideas, brainstorming, having fun together, nothing beats that. So yeah. And then on the other hand, I also don't think it's the right thing to do to have just a local company, right? I love Singapore. I love being here, but having people only here, I think it's also a risk, right? And you're not diversifying. And so with that, I think you really need to diversify and kind of spread your risks there. And I think we're doing a really good job in that, even at the relatively small stage of now close to 100 people. So yeah. And the last thing that's a bit of a reflection here, is to get a strategic investor on. Now, this is definitely not for financial reasons. It's really more of the long-term plans that we have. At the moment, it's just u-zyn and myself, have a bit of an accountability to a third party. That should definitely be a late-stage kind of investor. Also, the valuation, I mean, I see the company right now at around $1 billion valuation, and constantly increasing. Just looking at the number of funds we have, the number of customers we have, the amount of customer funds that are with Cake, and the kind of growth. So at $1 billion plus valuation is definitely not something where you're gonna have a small early stage VC come in that invests maybe $2 or $3 million. That just makes no sense. So someone investing here definitely has to invest a couple $100 million in order to get some serious skin in the game as well. And then really kind of understand where to take this company long term and have some commitment long term. So that's kind of the plans here. Again, it's really not from the financial side here. It's really more strategic and on the partnerships level. I think that's key. Before talking a bit about the risks here, I think the 2 main products, obviously, that we are working on this quarter are listing stocks and listing of loans. Now, the key thing here is really the term decentralized. Understand that part. This means that there's no actual stock behind that. It's actually backed by crypto. And again, it's also not Cake doing it. It's actually the blockchain doing it. So from the user perspective on Cake, the way this looks like is they deposit, for example, Bitcoin. And then they can click, I want to buy, for example, a Tesla share. Then what actually happens is they actually withdraw Bitcoin into a decentralized exchange. So Cake is also not doing the exchanging. We are simply a technical facilitator. It's also important from a regulatory standpoint. And then the decentralized exchange basically swaps the Bitcoin into a Tesla share. And then the DEX deposits for the customer the Tesla share onto Cake, and then they have this on Cake. And then if they want, they can either do liquidity mining with that share, which obviously can be quite interesting, or they can just say, no, I just want to invest into Tesla. And so the advantage is, if you're thinking of that, why would you do that? Why would you not go and buy Tesla on, I don't know, on a regular broker? You can. I think those two kind of concepts don't really compete. Here, you can do this straight away, right? Basically, you can get out of Bitcoin and you can get into Tesla within a couple of seconds, which is like very different to how this works normally. On top of that, you basically have like you can withdraw from Cake the Tesla share, have it natively on the blockchain, and then no one can take that Tesla share away from you. Where if you have a Tesla share on a regular broker, you can never actually take that share out of the broker. You would have to put it into your name. Actually having that share sent to you, I think it's super unrealistic. So yeah, completely different kind of concept here. And then obviously the idea of getting like having the opportunity to do liquidity mining with it can be super interesting. Now, a couple of downsides with that, which kind of conflict or kind of compete in a sense where why would you not do that? You're not going to get any dividends. That concept just doesn't like exist here. And obviously you don't really own the share. So you basically own a price feed that tracks the share and that's backed by crypto. And a lot of people ask me what I'm going to do if I buy the regular share, if I use decentralized shares. And my answer is always both. I'm in a fortunate situation where I can actually have access to regular shares and decentralized shares, so I'm going to use both. I think there's advantages to both sides. And this is the same kind of idea that I would pass on. Now, you may be in jurisdictions or you may be in areas where buying centralized stocks is almost impossible, and then this is a really fantastic opportunity for you. And yeah, timeline for this is happening now this month in November, so everything is kind of laid out for that. And then the other big thing on Cake coming up is that of loans. So loans basically means that you don't have to sell Bitcoin or DeFi chain or Ethereum or whatever in order to get dollars. You can actually lock this up, create a loan and withdraw dollars from it. And so the interesting thing behind that obviously is that you can still have the price exposure, but then still use your gains. It's a concept that many wealthy individuals normally do with their shares. And in general terms, like in crypto, this is not really that doable, but here it is. And that's going to be super interesting. The timeline for that is going to be December. And these are the two main things that we're kind of working on or focusing on. And then that kind of lays a bit the foundation. I lay that out here just to kind of jump down really quick. I laid it down here, right? So if you go into the short term here, then you will see we're going to have all these decentralized tokens. We're going to have the Pcob audit and yeah, valuation here. And then if you look over the next year, 2 years, obviously you combine all this, right? We're going to be adding, like especially 2022, we have pretty much all the verticals ready. And then we're going to add this for all the various blockchains. So we're going to fully integrate the Ethereum ecosystem, the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem, and all the various blockchain ecosystems out there, and try to kind of pick the best use cases from there and kind of add them one by one, at the end, allowing our customers to have this really broad access from a single point of view. And that's going to be, in my opinion, insanely exciting, because then we can add algo decision making to that, and that's gonna just help the customer according to their volatility tolerance and investment appetite or time horizon, what to get into and what not to get into. So I'm really excited about that next step, but we need to have all this stuff ready right now from the foundation here. And then here, if you look at a bit at this long term, the long-term goal here is that customers don't have to kind of worry so much about their finances. It should be a fully automated process according to anything like the investing, the reinvesting, or their spending should happen basically automatically. It should happen optimized, and in crypto it can. So as soon as you get out of crypto, this actually doesn't work because stuff is not interoperable. So many people don't really understand that part. They, for example, don't understand the power of the internet, what it truly is. What it truly is that we can do video, audio, text, email, whatever, all via the same medium. And we don't use fax and letters and all separately. So this interoperability is just powerful and huge. And so we want to do exactly this on Cake DeFi for our customers on the kind of on-ramp. So the kind of getting your finances on, and then obviously rebalancing, reinvesting, and then at the same time the spending. So that at the end, all you think about is value and not so much about all the small little things in between. Yeah, I think it's really, really unique. I don't see many other companies or any other company actually really focusing on that part specifically. You see obviously people focusing so much on the exchange side and the trading side. And to me, I always had I have a bit of a problem with that, simply because I always believe for most people the trading and all this is actually a lose situation. Maybe 1, 2, 3% of the people win, and it's on cost of the 97%. And on our end, right, we sit in the same boat as the customer. We encourage our team members to use our product, which, for example, for most exchanges is actually not allowed. So most exchanges don't allow their customers to use their platform because they have illegal inside information. That's absolutely ridiculous, in my opinion, to have that. So for us, it's the exact opposite. And that means for you as a customer, we have your best interests in mind. We want you to make a lot of money, because the more money we can make you, the more money we as a company can make. So I hope you understand that. Cool. With that, maybe to finish off, just with a couple of ideas that I always think we need to keep in mind. Risk-wise, we've had a Twitter space just the other day where we talked about risks and how to mitigate risks and security. I think the main risk to always watch out for is the risk you're not aware of. I think that's absolutely key, because it doesn't matter if you can influence that risk or you can't. If you're not aware of it, you get slaughtered no matter what. And then obviously the risks you can influence, we are doing our way best in that. Fund security, data security, any kind of treasury volatility. Now, that doesn't affect you directly as a customer, but as a company and the sustainability, that's super important. And then obviously any kind of transaction errors and transaction mistakes. So I think we're doing a fantastic job there. We have a great team that helps out to make sure that your funds are safe and your data is safe. And then, going forward, I mean, obviously a lot has to do with crypto sentiment, right? Crypto sentiment helps, can hurt. That's always kind of the same: price volatility, regulation, general economic uncertainties, but then obviously also pandemics. I think these are main things that are happening right now and that I want to kind of watch out for. So yeah, these are the thoughts that are on top of our mind right now. If you have any questions, then simply drop it into the chat, please. And then we're doing weekly Twitter spaces. Always 6:30 Singapore time on Tuesday, which in Europe is 11:30 a.m. It's 6:30 a.m. New York time. So just figure it out. It's 6:30 p.m. here in Singapore, where I'm also happy to kind of answer any other questions. So yeah, again, all the details on the blog post are down below. If you are an existing customer, thanks so much for your trust and for your support. If you're not one of our customers yet, what are you waiting for? Like, really, I think you're not going to find a company that has the incentives as much aligned with you as a customer as we have. We are going for that win-win. And we have such cool services, be it staking, be it lending, be it liquidity mining, obviously, be it decentralized tokenizations coming up now this month, then obviously decentralized loans. So that's going to be really, really cool. And check out our jobs page. Let me open it up really quick. cakedefi.com/jobs here. Wait, I can jump over. So cakedefi.com/jobs, and then you can see all this core values, team principles, and then all the benefits. And you can see all the various job openings. There's not a single department, in my opinion, that doesn't have a job opening. Seriously. Yeah. Cool. With that, love the report. Thanks so much. With that, I really wish you a nice Monday, another nice rest of the week, and then I'll see you in one of the next videos, or I'll hear during one of the Twitter spaces. Thank you so much. All the best. Yours truly, Julian.